What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here, back with a Tubi Tuesday review. This week's review will be of the 2022 film All Eyes, directed by Todd Greenlee. It was written by his brother, Alan Greenlee. Sometimes they are billed as the Brothers Greenlee, as was the case with their previous film, Home with a View of the Monster, which is kind of an interesting title. That movie looks like it could be about a monster harassing some people in a cabin. Perhaps the monster's real, perhaps it's not. Yep, I watched that one too. Instead of a monster in the house or around the house, it's more of the house might be haunted kind of a movie. It was pretty good, well made, kind of maybe I'll do a full review. You guys let me know if you're interested, but it was kind of a frustrating movie, to be honest with you. All Eyes was a little bit easier to watch. But this film, incidentally, if anybody has seen Jeremy Gardner's film After Midnight, this film very much reminds me of that, in that you have a wife that is missing or no longer with us, and a lonely person who is being harassed by a monster, at least according to him. And the monster may or may not exist. That's just basically the plot of this film. And it starts out with a podcaster named Alan, who is the host of like a paranormal type of podcast. And he has a horrible experience with a guest who is mentally disturbed. And the interview goes south badly, and he is fired. And at that point, he becomes aware of, or I believe he gets a letter from a farmer out in the country named Don, who's said he is being harassed by a creature that has like 1,000 eyes, and this creature is like harassing him and laying sort of siege to his farm. And so Alan is played by Jasper Hammer, and Don is played by Ben Hall, and both are very good. Ben Hall, I'll tell you, we all know that horror films don't get the recognition they deserve regarding acting. Ben Hall, in particular, gives a hell of a performance in this film, and it's a shame that it will, big picture, it will mostly go unnoticed, sadly. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, this film is pretty good. It perhaps didn't live up to the potential. I do recommend it, however. But yeah, Ben Hall as Don in this film is great. I mean, it's really a good performance. And they could have, somebody else could have played him like more wacky, but it's like a touching, moving performance, really. Even though he has a very crusty outer shell, he's very gruff. But anyway, at any rate, Alan, with the assistance of his producer, decides, he's going to go out and investigate. So he basically goes out and he meets Don. Don meets him at a predetermined location. He does not give him the address of his farm, and so Alan is very wary of the whole thing. Nobody's going to know where he's going to be, and he's not allowed to have a cell phone. So Don gives him a whole list of rules when they get there. He's like, he just sort of mentions in passing the place is booby-trapped, and don't touch that switch on the wall. Well, that all, of course, comes into play later in the film. And basically, Don is a widower whose wife had left him a series of notes around, and there's one more that he's still looking for. It's a really good, well thought out part of the story. And he's just kind of a sad, grumpy guy. So basically the procedure is they sit out on these lawn chairs at the edge of Don's property and watch the tree line and wait for this monster. And a night goes by and it doesn't happen. And Alan is getting kind of skeptical. He's living in this like very Spartan kind of conditions and not able to contact anyone. And he's thinking about just pulling the whole plug. So they're out there the next day, and Don goes to drop a deuce and he comes running back, pulling his pants up, and he's got a walkie-talkie, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they were here," and Alan's like, "What? Who?" And it turns out, Don says these government type individuals have come to investigate, and sure enough, they see this like camper type vehicle, and there's somebody at the other end of the walkie-talkie, almost like the the Men in Black type people, government agents sneaking around, that kind of a thing. So the camper speeds away before they can really make any kind of contact, but they still have the walkie-talkie. So now Alan is like invested. Now he's like, well, there's something going on here. Okay, and I'm not going to give too much more away. Like I said, the booby traps come into play, and there's a long stretch where they're just having a real problem with these booby traps. And then the individuals in the government, or sort of possibly government agents that are creeping around, they come back into the story. And, I'm not really going to talk too much about the ending. In a film like this, with this budget, I could be very forgiving with special effects and everything. This film created a very good atmosphere. It was a well-made film all around. There are times, though, when if the climax depends on the special effects being up to a certain level, it can be a little bit of a disappointment if that's not the case, and that was the case here. I felt. You've seen worse, trust me, but in this film, I was hoping to get a little more at the end, or again, without really going into detail about what happens. But an interesting, it's still a film worth watching. I do recommend this film. If you're into something that's a little different, if you get about 20 minutes into this and you're into it, I think it's worth sticking. So apart from being mildly disappointed at the execution of the end, story-wise, I didn't have any problem with it. Again, there's some very moving, kind of touching parts in this film, and I think the brothers Greenlee, we should probably keep our eye on these guys. I mean, this is some pretty clever stuff. I kind of want to go back and watch some of their other films. And again, Ben Hall as Don. It's worth it to watch it for him. I'm telling you, he is fantastic in this. All right, there you go, guys. All Eyes on Tubi. Check it out. If you've seen it, let me know what you guys think. All right, later. Bye. All right, guys, just a reminder that Tubi Tuesday was started by Alucard, the Bat, from the Alucard channel, Alucard YouTube channel. So check out his channel. He's got all kinds of movie reviews. He just had a best of and a worst of 2022 video. The worst of 2022 video did feature a number of movies from Tubi. Most of them were from Tubi. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's why we do this. We try to sort through and find some of the good ones and maybe warn you away from some of the bad ones. Like, I have no urge to watch the movie Toe now, even though it has Kane Hodder, based on his review. I just have no urge. And then also check out the Facebook group, okay, that he started, where we talk about these movies. I've got to start. I'm not really a Facebook guy, but I got to start checking on there. Tubi Horror and Cult Movies. Check it out on Facebook, of course.